Mark, it's a pleasure to have you. The floor is yours.
Cool. So thank you for for joining us second day, and this would be a quick presentation that I prepared. That I will go over this quickly, and then leave some room for your questions, and we'll continue from there. So, 1 second, I'm sharing my screen. Loading. Okay, so updates for today. We'll start from the network. We reached 819,000 transactions. It's not a super impressive number, but we really tried to grow it organically. So it was pretty big, like a 40% increase over the last 2 months, over the last month. And a lot of this is due to traction from Good Dollar, which did something like 26,000 accounts in the last few weeks alone. So we're growing this without, artificially inflating the numbers. We want real projects doing experiments and deploying more products for real users. And we want to show this organic traction at the beginning and not something that is fake. So this is something we follow very closely, and soon we will update the new Explorer that will allow everybody to see the information a little bit better. We have an update about the new AMB Bridge, which I'll explain in a second what's AMB. Testnet updates. We're launching the testnet in a few weeks, already something like 2 months in the making about that. And the first liquidity release for the Fuse token, which is something that we planned for basically day one. And now it's really happening. So a lot of updates on the network level and on the tokens level. So first, the AMB Bridge. So AMB stands for Arbitrary Message Bridge, which is a new bridge that the XDAI people, XDAI team developed that we adapted to Fuse. So until today, we actually used several bridges, like every token on Fuse required a new bridge. And we really want to make the architecture a little bit simpler because it was causing us problems with gas costs and stuff like that. Bridge, it's cheaper, effective. The big advantage is also that move other tokens, and not necessarily ERC20, but also NFTs. So you can use it for NFTs, and in the future, just pass messages. This is also scalable for connecting to other networks. So first, we're moving every asset that we want to move from main, moving it to one account on Fuse, which is a contract controlled by a multisig. Over time, this would be the focal point of how much value is locked of mainnet assets on top of Fuse. Right now, it's really hard for anybody to actually know that, because there's a separate bridge for every asset. Now, from now on, people will be able to see every deposit of DAI, every Uniswap user that wants to lock up Ether, even the Fuse token itself. It's something that we would be able to move through the bridge once it's wrapped. So we're going to have wrapped Fuse tokens that we can also move through this bridge and basically rely on this as like a highway between the two chains. And this is already live. This is the address. And we started to integrate this already to the studio. Today, the studio costs a lot of money, relatively like something like $100 to issue all the transactions, to mint the token, to create the bridge, deploy economy contracts. So all of this is much shorter right now. It's cheaper and faster to use the studio because we don't deploy a new bridge for the token. A big simplification of the issuance process. And another thing is really adding support for the new bridge on the UI. Also, we have the support for the old bridge, so you can flip between the old and the new. Let's say that you already use the old one, so you still have a backwards compatibility. So this is already live. You can go ahead and use the studio to launch communities, and it should cost you something like half Still quite a bit when the gas is high, but a small price to pay if you want to mint your own token. It's not that expensive. And you can really move it between the networks with ordinary transactions and very, very fast pace. Bridge. So the Spark testnet, currently in the final stages of testing. We're testing also doomsday scenarios, what's happening if we need to roll back everything, if something unforeseen will happen. We're checking algorithms and rewards and are the outputs similar to what we expected, and if the network behaves the way that we anticipate. So this takes time, but so far we made a lot of progress and quite a lot of checks that we passed. End of cycle transactions are moved back to 48 hours. This is a change we did in the past. But now, because we need to upgrade the network in a faster pace, we moved it back to 48 hours. Originally, we did this change to save cost for transactions on mainnet, which we think that this testnet will help solve in ways that I can elaborate if somebody wants to know. 15% minimal validator fee is what we decided would be, at least at the beginning, the numbers, just to make the transition a little bit easier and to start creating the validator and figuring out how to do this transition. We didn't want validators to compete on day one, want to have some benchmark in place that will make cooperation and collaboration a little bit easier. So this would be active by the 17th of October. We have several votes we need to do until we're going to pass it. The first vote will be on the 7th, and the second on the 17th, and the activation. So October is going to be a packed month. And an update about our token. So our token currently is already live. It's on Uniswap, but very low liquidity. We released something like 0.3% of the supply over the course of the last year to validators and early stakeholders, people that helped us build the network and start creating this ecosystem. So what you see today is thanks a lot to them. And the next objective is to do a more serious release, 10 times bigger to be exact. And this time we will do it on Mesa. Mesa is specially optimized for those kinds of releases. It allows us to do it in a way that is controlled. Unlike listing this on Uniswap, Uniswap is not really good if you want to release a lot of liquidity into the market. This is a way in a way that is very orderly, without risk of front running, without people manipulating the price, without any orders. It's really something that we'll explain more in the next few days. But the idea that on Mesa you give a bid, and if the final price or the tally of all the orders is lower than your bid, then you will get the bid, but at a lower price. And if your price is lower than the average price on the market, then your transaction will just not come through. So this is just a very fair way for projects and for token holders and the community to get the market price in a very fast way, without a lot of room for manipulation and with a lot of transparency. So there will be 10 million tokens that are released. They're going to be sold directly from Mesa in tranches. So the price will go from 6 cents to 30 cents from the order book directly. And next, after this emission, that will take a couple of days, we're going to list this on more exchanges. Some of them we're already there, like Uniswap. And the idea is to really grow the ecosystem, on-chain holder community, grow liquidity. So taking the basically managing our liquidity better moving forward, and basically starting to make this a community project, start doing more outbound marketing and communicate what Fuse, because so far Fuse was really under the radar. We didn't do any marketing. So this will go hand in hand with the public unveil of our work and the nice pilots that we did in last year. And really to be able to grow the network to 100 communities over the next year. So basically to shed some light on what is happening in the Fuse communities, to grow them. That's the best strategy, to show real users that use it all over the world, and hand in hand growing the liquidity on markets and the token holder community, and make Fuse a huge ecosystem. So this would be it. Happy to get any questions that you have.